Hello everyone, and welcome back to Gooey's Dungeon Dive, the podcast where I, Gooey, go through and rank every dungeon in The Legend of Zelda. And of course, we're continuing our journey through A Link to the Past. We've gained all 3 pendants of virtue, and we can go obtain the Master Sword to take on Aghanim, and we're going to be returning to a dungeon for the first time ever. So we head on out to the Lost Woods to get the Master Sword, and allow me to read another entry here from the Nintendo Player's Guide on the Lost Woods. Northwestern Hyrule was heavily wooded. It was dark and dreary, so few people ventured in, but those who did often fell victim to thieves. An old legend retold by the village elders claimed that the Master Sword lay waiting in the woods for one who was worthy of it. For as long as most Hyruleans could recall, a dark mist had cloaked the Lost Woods. Thieves found it a fitting place to hide out, but aside from them, the woods were home to animals only. People seeking mushrooms for medicinal potions sometimes dared enter, but they didn't stay long. Some reported finding swords in the woods. Ooh. There we have it. We go to a foggy, mysterious forest that's filled with thieves, and there's fake decoy master swords all over, and all these different paths and tree stump tunnels you can go through. It's not that difficult to get your way to, to find your way to the real sword. But once you do, we get kind of the most iconic scene in Zelda, or at least one of them. Our first one here, Link pulling out the Master Sword from its pedestal. And they say, when the Master Sword was retrieved, the dark mist suddenly cleared, and warm sunshine bathed the woods for the first time in many years. Of course, we've obtained the sword, we know where we need to go. But we also get some urgency added to the matter. Zelda reaches out to us telepathically. The enemy has attacked the sanctuary, and you can go right to the castle now, but you can also go over to the sanctuary and get a little gripping death scene from the sage there, which is kind of cool. We'll see that sort of Easter eggy thing come back in Ocarina of Time. But for now, we need to get to the castle because not only is Aghanim there, but he's captured the princess now as well. Classic. So we're back at Hyrule Castle, and I think what's cool about it is we've already been here, but now we get this kind of whole new area to go it's a tower, this part of it. So I was going to say we go deeper into it, but we get, higher and higher. So it's almost a different sort of, we had the sort of the mini dungeon of the intro, and this other separate mini dungeon that kind of connect and make this whole castle. I think it's really cool. So there was a door that we couldn't access before because there was a force field, but now that we have the Master Sword, we can break the spell, and from here on out, it's just to climb up the castle tower to save Zelda. As the Nintendo Player Guide puts it, a shrouded maze. According to the legend, Princess Zelda was taken by Aghanim to the top of Hyrule Castle Tower. In the darkened halls there, enemies attacked without warning. Many a would-be rescuer fell victim to their ambushes, but those who used their lantern could light the room to face their foes. Aghanim was said to practice his evil magic at the top of the tower. Indeed, many of these floors are dark, they're calling with soldiers, all these different variations of knights in multiple combinations, and also multiple more powerful ball and chain soldiers. It's not a big navigational dungeon. It's similar to Tower of Hera, but even more straightforward. But I think it's this kind of hype building gauntlet that I think is one of the most effective ones of these in the series. It's room after room of enemy and different combat situations. It's such a cool, fast-paced segment of the game, and I love the combat in this game, and I think it's really showed off well here. It's a lot of fun, just killing everything you see. Once we get to the top, we discover Aghanim. He's trying to perform some kind of ritual to Princess Zelda. It's a really cool scene where he raises her up and zaps her with something. It looks cool. And we have to chase him to the next room as he becomes like the true final boss of this dungeon. This is also a first for the series, because the boss fight against Aghanim, we're told earlier by a telepathic tile that the only way to beat him is going to have to be to use his magic back against him or something like that. And that's indeed what you do. He shoots these magical attacks at him, and the Master Sword is able to deflect them back at him, and that is the way we needed to defeat him. And so this is the first instance in the series, I believe, of what everyone refers to now as the tennis battle, which we'll see over and over again in the series. And it's pretty fun. It's simplistic. It always kind of is, but it's a cool scene, fun enough fight. It's not awful, but in general, it's a first. After we defeat Aghanim, he says, "No, I'm going to draw you into the dark world." And so we're not done. Obviously, he pulls us into the dark world, and now we sit upon this vast pyramid, and Saharasla tells us that the only thing we can do now is to go and save all the other maidens that have been captured. So we've got a whole lot ahead of us in terms of the rest of the game, it turns out. I think this is such a cool scene, kind of a cool twist. I can imagine playing back in the day, the excitement of going to this half of the game, and it's something so effective that they repeat it again on the next console game. So yeah, it's a great part. So yeah, Hyrule Castle overall, let's take it to the rankings. So I had it at number 1 before, because I loved the intro and the excitement of it. And, the only place I guess it could go is down. But of course, I love this part of the game too. It's not the... you have some more, like in like Desert Palace or whatever, you have the foundation for the Zelda dungeon navigation that I love. And this is just more straightforward. But I think there's a place in the series for these dungeons like this too. I think there's gotta be diversity, and I think this excels at what it's doing in being this exciting gauntlet, linear dungeon. And so I'm gonna keep it at number 1. Now we're about to get into the Dark World, and I think we're gonna see most of those dungeons honestly go straight to the top of the list. So I know there were people who were kind of questioning my Hyrule Castle decision, but by the end of the game, it's not going to be so... I mean, it'll still be up there. I do love it, but it's not going to be so, dominating, I don't think. So yeah, there I have it. Number 1. Link to the Past is looking pretty strong so far, and I think we're going to keep that path going. So, of course, if you like the video and stuff, give it a like and subscribe, and let other people know if you think they'll like this. Any other Zelda fans know. That would help out a lot. And yeah, thanks for watching.